Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the buffed Libertad. This thing is absolutely ridiculous now. The ship I played in testing is no more. This ship is now even better. Mainly down to the maneuverability, of course, getting that Vermont-like acceleration. And just look at how this ship dances on the water. It is crazy. We are going to push 2 destroyers here, which is usually what you do not want to do as a battleship, especially one without a hydro. But we're going to make it work in this game. This ship, of course, has absolutely ridiculous secondary firepower, amazing range, and if you're using the special commander, you're also getting a massive reload buff there. These combat instructions are giving you both reload to your secondaries, range to your secondaries, and damage to your secondaries while they're active. And it only takes a few main gun hits to activate it, or some potential damage. So very easy buff to farm up here. This ship has amazing armor as well. And something else is the 13-kilometer concealment with that 12.5-kilometer secondary range. But the key here, if you manage to watch through my Libertad original video, is I really want you to focus on the maneuverability here. It is going to directly save my life multiple times in this video. It is a massive change. Sure, we're not increasing our damage or anything like that, but we are way more survivable and able to do a lot more with this ship. Not only for dodging torpedoes, but a lot of this ship is going to be on islands. You're going to play around islands to isolate 1v1s. Anytime I'm talking about brawling battleships, I'm always talking about isolating fights and dealing with one target at a time. And that's usually done with island cover. Anytime you're playing around islands, you want better acceleration, so you have more fine control over where your ship is positioned, the armor you're showing to the enemy, which main guns or secondaries you're able to fire. It's all very important in these situations. It's going to lead to you taking 20 or 30,000 damage or 5,000 damage, or dealing that much in return. It's big differences here. Also notice that we're running something like Brisk on this ship. So what happens if you give a ship Vermont levels of acceleration, maneuverability, and then you also give it a top speed of over 30 knots? Vermont is a slow battleship, yes, but it does not feel as sluggish as its speed would imply. Now that Libertad has more normal battleship speed, this is a little bit ridiculous. This special commander also gives us a 5% speed buff on activating our combat instructions twice. That also is going to give us 20% initial progress to our combat instructions after using it every time. So a very powerful buff, and we're going to see this ship capable of 37.2 knots of a top speed when you're using Brisk. You have to be undetected, but considering the concealment here, you're going to be undetected unless you're in a fight like this. We've taken an absolute beating. This is exactly why you should not push into destroyers. Summers is a very, very scary torpedo threat. Very quick reload, 3 launches of torpedoes, not just 2 like a Gearing, and they hit pretty hard. But we are going to manage to survive this somehow. More citadels into this Montana. I would say the main guns are not the highlight of this ship. Sure, you get 12 of them, 419 millimeters. Wow, we're below 1,000 HP. Very scary stuff, and there's the Summers. But hey, there's our ship speed increase, and look at that initial progress on our combat instructions, just like that. We do barely manage to take out the Monty with fires and secondaries, and I shoot here. This could lead to our death. We're now guaranteed to be spotted for 20 seconds after firing, and Summers doesn't have the best guns, but should be able to get some damage into our superstructure, although it is pretty small. 60-second cooldown on this heal is very, very nice, and I'm running the upgrade that can improve that duration or the cooldown by the amount of potential damage you have. It also gives us an extra heal at 2 million potential damage, which we're pretty close to. But back to those main guns, they are certainly a weak point here. Shooting the Summers and we get 1 hit. Yeah, they do not have the best accuracy. Our reload is a little bit long as well. I'm of course going for a full secondary build here, so we're not buffing them at all, but even if you went for a gun build, I don't think that's going to be the right way to play this ship. mean, look at this maneuverability. Even looking back at this, it's crazy. And trust me, when playing it, it is an unbelievable difference. Unfortunately, you guys don't get to experience that, but as someone who played that pre-buffed version, this thing it's like a ballerina, honestly, in comparison. It's crazy. We're going to dip into the summer's smoke here to stay undetected. Unfortunately, eating yet another torpedo. But we're going to be getting back to that heal soon enough, and hopefully we can catch this guy as we're getting out of this smoke. We're fast. We're very, very fast, and that's going to allow you to surprise a lot of people. It also is going to help you reposition anytime your flank is finished, I suppose. And in this case, we are almost done on this flank. I am pushing the enemy spawn, I'm sure you've noticed that, and I never, ever recommend this. But in this case, well, this is one of the first matches I played with the buffed version, and I just was limit testing, of course. I mean, 5 hits out of 12 is not bad. That's quite a bit of damage with that HE. But I like limit testing. I like to just full send, do what you shouldn't, and see if the ship can survive. That's always a great way to get a feel for the limits of a ship, instead of playing it safe early on. That way, you know exactly what the ship can and cannot deal with. We dodge one set of torpedoes. He's got 2 left at the moment. And there's a Nakamov in front of us. He's angled, so we're not going to do that much damage. But ideally, we would be taking this carrier out. Unfortunately, I haven't had to deal with him on this flank at all yet. We got very, very lucky. I mentioned in these ship videos, the tier 8 and the tier 10 here so far, you're not going to do so well against carriers and submarines. Because the ship is so massive. It's very long, very easy to drop. But what happens if you massively improve the maneuverability? It's a little less of a problem. Certainly not enjoyable, but it's a bit less of a problem. Here we do get our last heal. That's very, very handy. Nakamov is spotted. Flat broadside should be easy to finish him off, right? And I'm going to prematurely use this heal. We're actually not going to get the full value out of it. Looking back, certainly a mistake, but only 2 overpens there. We only fired 6 guns, of course, but that's pretty disappointing into a Nakamov, which has one of the largest citadels in the entire game. And he's already back with more planes, but we're already turned and angled away. Secondaries plus main guns should finish him off here, and indeed they do. He gets one last strike out, but that's not going to finish us off, and we're able to dodge these torpedoes. This maneuverability is massive. It really is. It might seem small, like, oh, what's the big deal about a bit of maneuverability? But if you're someone who's able to use your speed, your acceleration, your rudder to dodge incoming fire and extend your survivability, it is a massive, massive buff. Now into the good stuff. We have 13,622 HP left. We are not getting any more HP. This game is quickly getting out of hand. So how are we going to do this towards the end of this game? This is not over yet. Well, we get a decent hit into the incomparable. Not amazing, though. And there's Johann dive bombers. Something about these Dutch dive bombers, or these airstrikes, they deal a ton of potential damage. So when they land, we just instantly get our F key. And now we have improved reload and damage into this Johann. And this maybe is the best part about this maneuverability buff here. This is a bit of game sense, but still, we're going to accelerate here from stop. I'm a little bit worried about torps. Also, wanting to angle to this Johann is the main thing here. We'll damage con the fire. Look at our acceleration right now. The torps are coming. We guarantee eat this torpedo. Guarantee eat this before. But nope, not here. We managed to slip past. It's crazy. It is actually crazy. And there's more, because we're going to get rushed by a destroyer here. And, well, old patch, we would have not been able to get off this island in time. Not only is it good for accelerating forward, but also when you hit your head on an island like this, it's the fastest way to stop. But now that with this acceleration, we do have the ability to reverse away from the island very, very quickly. I'm thinking the Summers is going to come around the north here, and that's why I've got my guns ready for him here. But importantly, our secondaries are kind of insane at close range. We have no secondary accuracy built up on our manual secondary skill. But at closer ranges, that's not really going to matter here. I'm a little worried about the left side now. We're hydroed. Initially, I thought maybe that was Cossack, but he's too far away. But he is on his way. I think that is Johann Hydro. But look at how fast we're accelerating here. This is really important. We accelerate from 0 to basically full. Secondaries on the Summers, and he's dead in like 2 seconds. Within like a 9-second period there, we went from full stop to full acceleration, and 2 seconds of the Secondaries firing killed that Summers. Just like that. I had to go back and rewatch this a couple times to really see what happened there, but that is insane. There's almost no other ship that could survive that, I don't think. And now with this Cossack here, trying to play it smart, certainly, by using his smoke to be undetected, and then just launch his torps out of it. But we're so maneuverable that our ability to slow down and turn in there actually dodges his torpedoes. We do manage to clean up the Cossack. Catalunya spotted here, and we're grounded barely broadside to him. He even has AP. And he bursts it at us. So if we survive, and 4,501 HP, but we live, he's got a long reload now. And look at these Secondaries go. I actually get a Kraken and live on 500 HP. That's insane. That is insane that this ship is capable of this. Lucky, sure, but insane nonetheless. Some skill involved too, I would like to say. But 37.2 knots here. Just had to fit that in as an example. Very fast, very tanky ship. Small superstructure, insane maneuverability. Secondaries are obviously incredible. I mean, this thing is pretty busted at the moment. And perhaps that's why I'm not so happy about the last minute changes. I would like these things to be tested a little bit more. I've already submitted quite a bit of feedback about that to Wargaming. But this is why. I think this ship was already incredibly powerful. Certainly I said so in my first video. But I didn't realize just how massive. I was speculating, right? I had to speculate based on playing Vermont what this maneuverability would mean. And it's even better than I thought it might be. So, kind of crazy. To be fair, I haven't played too much of it yet with these new buffs. This is the first couple of games I managed to play with it, but yeah, it's very strong. I think we should see a little bit more testing done, even a week of the final build of the ship before it comes to live servers. Satsuma is a very, very dangerous opponent for us. We have great armor, sure, but a 32 mil bow with a very vulnerable citadel. It's pretty far above water, and when we're broadside, it's very well angled. So you're not going to take too much damage when you're broadside, at least at longer ranges. But you do have to be very careful of the 32 mil overmatching ships at closer ranges. Or perhaps even at longer ranges if they get the right dispersion. Yeah, a little bit of foreshadowing here. But this is a fun little spot to get into. And again, maneuvering around islands, it's so nice to have this increased maneuverability, this increased acceleration. Satsuma's 17 kilometers away, and he does get a citadel there. So there are some weaknesses, don't worry. There are some weaknesses. But if you don't overmatch 32, you're not going to get that salvo even at close range. You have to wait for them to expose enough broadside. Usually that's around 30 degrees. And then you don't shoot their broadside. You got to shoot into their bow, just below their front turret. And you can actually hit that shot as well, even without overmatching 32 millimeters of armor. It's kind of the cheek citadel. Even though it's not shaped like a Yamato, you can still do it to these style of ships. Certainly something I've been doing for years, especially into old Montana. I mean, that's really old Montana, which had that giant citadel, but you could do that very easily as well, that kind of cheek citadel. And certainly here with the Libertad, you're going to have to do that again. Reversing and able to dodge these torpedoes. No hydro, which is a pain, certainly, but I mean, this maneuverability is crazy, man. Look at us accelerate here now around this island. It's time to go, and our ship is at full speed so quickly. It's a fun line. You get the tier 8 in the battle pass, the free track. Keep in mind, the free track of the battle pass, so you'll be able to play with this. And the tier 8's getting this maneuverability, the tier 9's getting this maneuverability, so I'll have to play them again. Haven't even done the video yet on the tier 9, so I plan on doing that soon. Certainly seems like a very powerful ship that has tier 9 matchmaker, which certainly can see super ship still, but imagine these secondaries against tier 7s. Because the tier 9 does get those improved higher caliber secondaries like Libertad has. Tier 8 doesn't get it quite, but still has decent secondaries, certainly. Pushing in, a little both sides action here. using our combat instructions, and I mean, our main guns aren't going to do too much to this Ohio. It really just is those secondaries. The ability to pen 59 millimeters, you melt Ohios. You just melt Ohios. I mentioned this a couple times already in different videos, but I played Ohio against a Libertad in testing, and just happened to run into a tester in random battles. I was playing Ohio, and I melted, just like that poor guy melted. Insane, absolutely insane, these secondaries. I fought a few Schlieffens already as a Libertad against a Schlieffen, and they don't really do much damage to you. Jacksonville, also a very scary HE threat, but you have such a small superstructure. I suppose Jacksonville, with IFHE and his combat instructions active, maybe pens us. Although, is that 50 or 51? Because keep in mind, we have 51 millimeters of armor. That's what you have to get through to actually full pen our deck or our upper belt. Jacksonville takes a Citadel, very nice. Certainly you can't count on that. I've found, as I've played these more, that it's super, super RNG dependent. But the secondaries just do so much damage at these closer ranges that overall you're probably getting more damage than most other battleships. And we get lit on a double fire the instant our damage control is off our immunity time. So don't miss that. Not running fire prevention is very risky. Very, very risky. But a very, very fun game here. Certainly that first one was unbelievable. I could not believe it after playing that match. And since this is a secondary brawling battleship, you already know that I'm going to be moving my commander skills around a lot. I can't seem to pick a build for these things. I'm always trying something else. It also fits different playstyles slightly depending on the build you're taking. So greeting for no fire prevention here means you have to be much more careful about being exposed in open water. Taking multiple permanent fires is a great way to die. You have to play more carefully around islands. But it does allow us to get a little bit more healing here, faster back to our heals, as well as getting us gun feeder, since the HE does a decent amount of damage. It's pretty good. Our alpha damage on our AP is so low that at times, it can be worth just shooting some high explosive. You get some fires, your secondaries will like that because they also want to light permanent fires. And yeah, these 234s are ridiculous secondary firepower, extremely powerful. Special Commander, of course, giving you 22.5% reload on those secondaries as well. I mean, a 5% main gun and reload is nice too. I mean, ship speed of 5%, 37.2 knots with Vermont acceleration, guys. It's kind of silly how maneuverable and quick this thing is for how massive it is as well. That combat instruction starting progress is cool too. I didn't show it as much here, but in that first video, that first game, I chained these combat instructions so quickly. It's very, very easy to do that in the midst of a brawl. And certainly the things I talked about in the tier 8 video about when to use the combat instructions still apply, where I'm going to wait until I have my accuracy built up with my with manual secondaries. You wait until that time and then you can use it for range, but I wouldn't just use it for range to start firing your secondaries because you're not going to get much benefit without the accuracy already built up. When you're in a brawl, just straight up use it for DPM. It's very, very good for that. And a nice gimmick is the ability to use it for that range when somebody's about to leave your range and you can maintain that secondary firepower, maybe even finishing someone off. Here I was using, of course, the full secondary build. I have been switching to auxiliary armaments to keep them alive, though. Something that has changed and not just using damage control party mod 1 here. Although, what if I took steering gears? This maneuverability does not include steering gears mod 1. This is with me using damage control system mod 1, and I was still just tap dancing around the battlefield. What do we get our maneuverability to? 10. Wait, I actually hadn't looked at this. 10.9? Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm going to have to play with that now. You'll definitely see some more of this ship coming soon, just to show you that armor as well. Very, very powerful. 51 millimeters, small superstructure. The Citadel is very, very nicely angled here, right? You're very steep here. But if they give enough broadside to show you maybe like this, I would say, don't aim here, aim right here, and you'll go through 32. Even if you don't overmatch it, it's not angled enough to auto bounce. And then Going through that, you only have 305 to get through, which is pretty weak at tier 10. So certainly much better than angled 406. This is just flat 305 in comparison. I know it's angled in this direction, but so is this. This is angled in this direction as well as this direction. So it's even more angled. So much easier to do that. And certainly you can take a lot of damage there, as we saw against that Satsuma. But that's going to do it for today's video on the Libertad. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.